The night she froze was supposed to be holy snow, fell soft and silent over Blackridge Castle. Carols echoed inside warm halls, and somewhere between laughter and firelight, a maid was dragged into the dark. Alara did not scream. She had learned long ago that screams only made it worse. Her bare hands sank into snow. Her breath turned to knives in her chest, and when the iron gates slammed shut, the world decided she was already dead miles away. The Alpha King returned from war. Cale Draven smelled blood on the wind, human familiar wrong. He followed it through the forest, past frozen trees and howling shadows until he saw her, a girl half buried in snow, eyes barely open, life slipping through blue lips. Something ancient inside him broke. He lifted her into his arms, and in that moment the moon screamed a truth it had hidden for years. She was his by the time Cale carried her back to the castle. Christmas was no longer a celebration, it was a reckoning, because the maid they tried to kill was the one woman the Alpha King would burn his kingdom for, and once his rage was unleashed, nothing in Blackridge would ever be the same. The girl in the snow. The storm came down from the northern peak. Like a curse, unleashed snow devoured the forest roads. Wind screamed through the Blackridge Pack territory, and on Christmas Eve, when warmth was supposed to live in hearths and hearts, a girl was left to die. Alara had stopped feeling her fingers an hour ago. She lay half buried beside the servant road, her dark hair frozen white, her thin cloak stiff as iron. Every breath burned, every blink felt heavier than the last. She had been the Alpha King's maid, not by choice, by debt, orphaned at 12, taken in by the Pack Castle, promised safety, given chains. Instead, she cleaned floors that nobles dirtied, endured insults she never answered, and learned very young that silence was the only shield a servant had. Tonight, she had made one mistake. She collapsed, and they called it weakness. They dragged her outside while laughter echoed behind the iron doors. Let the snow teach her strength, one of them sneered, and the gates slammed shut. Alara did not cry. Tears froze too fast anyway. Above her, the moon was veiled as if ashamed to watch. That was when the forest went quiet, not peaceful. Afraid branches creaked under heavy steps. The air shifted thick with power. Cale Draven, the Alpha King of Blackridge, had returned. He smelled blood before he saw her, human blood, familiar wrong. His boots stopped inches from a pale hand emerging from the snow. For a moment, the world held its breath, then rage erupted, the kind that shattered bloodlines and rewrote destinies. He dropped to his knees, lifting her broken, light body into his arms. Her pulse was faint, but they're alive. Who did this? His voice was growl, older than the mountains. Alara stirred just once, her frozen lashes fluttered, and in her haze she whispered a name she had never been allowed to say. Alpha. Something ancient answered inside Cale. Something the moon had sealed long ago. The storm did not dare touch them. As he rose, holding the girl who would bring his kingdom to its knees inside the castle, warmth waited, but so did judgment. And when the Alpha King crossed those gates with the frozen maid in his arms, Christmas would never be remembered the same again. Say the Alpha's wrath. The castle doors flew open, warmth spilled into the night. Firelight flickered against stone. Laughter died mid breath. Every eye turned to the Alpha King, standing in the doorway, snow clinging to his dark hair, blood staining his hands, and in his arms the maid. Gasps rippled through the great hall. Alara's head lolled against Cale's chest, her skin pale as death. Lips, blue fingers curled weakly into his coat, as if instinct already knew he was the only thing keeping her alive. Who left her outside? Cale's voice did not rise. It did not need to. The temperature dropped despite the roaring hearths. No one answered. Nobles stared into their goblets. Servants bowed too fast. Elders exchanged nervous looks, because they all knew, and because the truth was a noose. I asked, who left her outside this time? The growl crept in. Windows rattled, candles guttered. A steward fell to his knees. My lord, it was only discipline. The girl collapsed during her duties. Lady Saris ordered. The name snapped, the final thread. Cale moved one moment. He was at the door. The next, the steward was lifted off the floor by his throat, feet kicking, face purple. Discipline is not murder. His eyes burned gold. The beast surged close to the surface, ancient, unforgiving. He threw the man across the hall. The body struck stone and did not rise. Guards stepped back. No one dared draw steel. Bring a healer. Now 2 healers ran. Cale carried Alara through the hall toward the private chambers. Every step echoed like a verdict as they passed Lady Saris, the noblewoman responsible for the servants. Her lips curled in disgust. She is nothing but a maid, my king. If she dies, another will. Cale stopped slowly. He turned. The silence that followed felt like the pause before an execution. If she dies, his voice was calm, deadly. Your bloodline ends tonight. Lady Saris went white inside the Alpha's chambers. Cale laid Alara before the fire. Healers stripped away frozen cloth, rubbed warmth into blue skin, whispered prayers to the moon. Cale watched, unmoving, unblinking. Minutes dragged, then hours. Finally, a breath shuddered from Alara's chest, color bled faintly back into her lips, a live relief hit Kale like a blade, but with it came something else, awareness. As the healer stepped back, the alpha felt it a pull, a thread tightening around his soul. Alara's eyes opened brown wide, afraid. She tried to sit, fell back. "I'm sorry, my lord," she whispered. "I didn't mean to be weak." The words struck harder than any insult. Kale's hands curled into fists. "You were not weak." The moon stirred, the bond snapped into place. She was his, and he would burn the world before letting it take her again. Say the bond. Beneath the silence, Alara did not understand why the Alpha King was still. There she lay, wrapped in furs beside the fire, warm, now alive, and terrified. No servant stayed in an Alpha's chambers past dawn. No maid looked into a king's eyes and lived unchanged, yet Kale Draven sat across from her, elbows on his knees, head bowed as if he were the one awaiting judgment. When she shifted, he looked up, and the world tilted. His gaze was not cruel, not distant. It was a searching. "Forgive me, my lord," Alara whispered, her voice hoarse for causing trouble. The words scraped something raw inside him. Trouble. He stood in one smooth motion, crossing the space between them. She shrank back by instinct. Years of punishment written into her bones. "Do not flinch from me." His tone was gentle, almost unfamiliar even to himself. Alara froze, confused. "I will never hurt you." The lie was that he thought it would be easy. He reached out slowly, letting her see every movement. When his fingers brushed her wrist, the bond roared awake. Fire raced through his veins. The moon screamed recognition. The beast bowed. Alara gasped, her breath caught. Her heart thundered. Something ancient coiled around her soul, warm, claiming, terrifying. She tried to pull away. Kale caught her hand. "Look at me," she did, and in his eyes she saw truth, not as words, but as fate. "You are my fated mate." The room shattered. "No." She shook her head violently. "No, that's not possible. I'm a maid. I'm nothing. You are mine." The word did not cage. It protected. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Because hope was the cruelest thing she had ever known. "If anyone finds out, they'll kill me." Kale's jaw tightened. "Then they will die first." He cupped her face, not claiming. "Not yet. The bond demands time and trust." Rest. She obeyed before fear could stop her. Because for the first time, command felt like safety outside the chamber. The castle whispered the Alpha King had found his mate, and she was the girl they had tried to freeze to death. Say **** Part 4. When the castle turned its teeth ***. By morning, the castle knew walls had ears, servants had eyes, and fear traveled faster than truth. Alara woke to silence too heavy to be peace. Sunlight spilled through tall windows, furs warmed her skin, and the Alpha King was gone. Panic clawed her chest. She sat up too fast. Pain flared. The door opened immediately. 2 guards stepped in, but instead of chains, they bowed. "The Alpha commands you are not to leave these chambers without escort." Her heart sank. Protection sounded too much like imprisonment. When Kale returned hours later, blood stained his cuffs, not hers. He saw the fear in her eyes and stopped. "I punished those responsible." Alara swallowed. "Punished meant dead." The servants, Lady Saris. Kale's silence answered. Her knees weakened. "I never wanted anyone to die because of me." Kale crossed the room. "You did not cause this. You survived it." He knelt before her, an Alpha King kneeling before a maid. "If I had found you minutes later." His voice broke. She reached for him before she could stop herself. Her hand trembled against his sleeve. "I'm here." The bond hummed, soft healing. But peace never lasts in a pack built on cruelty. That night, the elders came, 5 wolves, gray with age and power, their eyes cold. "A human born maid cannot be queen." Kale rose slowly. "She is my mate. Mates can be rejected." The word cut Alara open. Kale's rage surged. "Try to force that, and you will see what rejection looks like." The eldest elder leaned forward. "The people will revolt. Nobles will rise. Blood will spill." Kale did not blink. "Let it." Because this time the Alpha King was not fighting for power. He was fighting for her, and the pack was about to learn what happened when love stood in the path of fear.